What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to give you guys my review of Fantastic Four. Just left the movie theater, got home, have a lot to say. I will keep it pretty short for the spoiler-free portion. I'll try to nail like themes and just generalities, and I think to get pretty specific, there's some big moments in this movie, the ending, etc., etc. So we'll go into that in like a spoiler section, kind of towards the end. So just to jump in, I really liked it. This is coming from a person. I said this even on Twitter. Like, I'm so out of the MCU machine, it's not even funny. At the same time, I do feel maybe I'm a little bit of a normie. If you dangle keys, I might be like just sleepwalk mode enough to like follow you through. So I'm kind of in a weird spot, but I want to see good movies. I don't want to see pure trash. And I also I'm tired of just the normal Marvel thing. And I say all this because I really do want to stress that, because when it comes to this movie, it felt a little different. I'm not going to say like, I've never seen a superhero movie or like this breaks the mold. This is entirely different. Not really. Okay, to be honest, I feel like any new idea has already been crafted, or a lot of them have already been crafted in films. It is a fine superhero film. I think what it does really well, that I even saw like the other reviewers talking about as we got closer, is that focus on family, and I think just being pretty self-contained. Like, I thought, putting it in the 60s and having those colors and having those visuals, I thought it was a really nice movie to look at. And by doing, not just to look at, that is a big part of it. You're using your eyes, you're watching it, but, to really differentiate itself and say, okay, it's a different world. It's a different color blend. It's a different, these are the Earth's protectors, right? And just to really differentiate it and say, hey, whether you watch the last 30 Marvel things, all these shows and movies, or you didn't, I think you can jump in and have a good time. And that's really, at this point, kind of what I want. Look, if the movie is good and it also ties to an established universe, that's maybe the best case scenario for something like this, right? You have more of these to go after this. You got to set things up, or you might want that to happen. But good movie first, and if it wants to do other things, I think that's okay. That's kind of my mentality with it. And I thought it was fun. I thought this movie had a lot of heart. I thought it very much focused on the family. Tough to I want to say it without getting into spoilers, at least right now. The entire movie is really centered around one problem and how you get out of that problem. Let's say that for the spoiler-free section. That's the movie. That is 90% of the film, along with the family getting ready for the birth of their son, right? And just this family dynamic. I actually really appreciated the way they told their origin story. I think was a little bit different, whether it's like structure, like how they actually showed it, or the actual structure, and the fact that also they just didn't have to do the entire thing. I don't actually, because I didn't follow it too much. I thought as the movie was starting, I was like, man, are they going to show them doing the outer space thing and being hit and all that jazz? And they skip, but they skip, but they also do enough where like they show it, but they don't show it. So I appreciated that. But that's the basis of the movie, a family type thing. I thought the acting was extremely good. I saw a lot of people saying like Reed and Sue were the two like best parts. I would go further. I would say all four of them are extremely good. Now, I think the focus is I think the focus is on everybody almost equally and pretty darn important, except for maybe Ben. Ben, I think, plays more of a supporting role in that group, but he is very important, and I actually might have liked him like a top two. It's tough. Like, I actually really, really liked all of them. I think all of them have really good hearts. I think all of them have really, really good chemistry. Again, you kind of go to Sue and Reed, but to be honest with you, like Johnny and Ben, they were really, I want to say fun, but I almost feel like just saying that alone is a disservice, because I think there was a lot of heart and a lot of energy that was coming with those two as well. Again, I would say like the bigger moments, things to do, Ben probably actually had the least. He was more of that support structure in the family more than anything else. The other three had bigger, like really big implication kind of moments versus him. Reed, he's tough because he's just so smart, right? There's not a lot that he does with his powers. It's a lot that he does with his brain, right? And that's so important to the movie. I guess I'd bump him up because of that. If you just talk about like the power of being stretchy, that's actually the weakest of the four of them. But I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. I think it did a good job of being contained. I think the way, again, like I know I got away from it quite a bit, but it being just a little bit different. And what I mean by that part is like, the focus on family, focus on that self-containment. I know they're trying. Like, I didn't see Thunderbolts, but, I've heard, and I think Marvel maybe is starting to understand a little bit more and more. Like, again, make it good. And it kind of does have to play a part, but, like, you don't have to make it connect as heavy-handed as they did maybe like 5, 6, 7 years ago, where they really started to lose their way. So I can appreciate that there's one thing, obviously, in this that does connect, but beyond that, this is a very self-contained thing. And let me just also throw in Galactus and Shalla-Bal. Those two, really good. I know the female Silver Surfer and all the controversy that when they first announced that, I thought she was pretty sweet from visual to character. Like, they gave her an okay amount to do. I thought she looked cool. Like, I thought they nailed that. And then Galactus, holy dear God, that's hard to go into too much without spoiling it, but voice, nailed it. Visuals, I mean, specifically the first time he's on screen, very intimidating and like imposing, right? He's so big, and I think they really did a good job there. And again, I won't get into spoilers, but I like the outcome, which we'll talk about in just a second. So overall, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good time. I'm not going to sit here and tell you like it was the most amazing thing of all time. I'm glad I went out to see it. I've skipped plenty of Marvel movies and many of Marvel shows over the last 5, 6 years. I'm happy this was one that I went to see, and I'm excited. It makes me a little bit excited about like where it's going, but I think each individual thing kind of has to prove itself to me. So let's get into spoilers really quick. I just want to say a couple different things. We can start with the Galactus and more of the specifics of each of these characters. So like my wife actually said this to me a couple minutes ago, and I very much agree. Like I said, I like the outcome. I like the fact that he's not defeated. I think that would be ridiculous. He's so powerful, so big, such a big threat, comics or just character-wise, right? When you bring up that name, to have him be defeated. Now, he is defeated, but like in the way that he is, I think is cool. So, I mean, I mentioned in the spoiler-free section, like, I appreciated that a lot of this was family, and then they're marked for death, they're marked for destruction, right? They go to see Galactus. That doesn't go so well. There's action, there's the birth of their son, all that jazz. And then for the most part, the middle and ending of this movie, okay, is literally just we need to figure out how to escape, or what do we do? You can't fight him, so what do we have to do? I really like that. My wife made a good point too. It's like, there is a clock. It's like it's ticking, and you feel rushed. They feel rushed, and that's why maybe the speed was high, where it's like, okay, you kind of feel like, all right, these things are happening rather quickly. Well, it's because it is. They have to do it rather quickly, right? Because Galactus is coming. So honestly, pretty simple. This imposing, far-out threat that's getting closer and closer and closer, and they have to figure out what to do. It's really not complicated. It's not a crazy storyline, And then the idea of, well, how do we do it? And her speech, like inspiring him to like figure it out. I really like that as well, where it's basically, hey, we need to escape, right? Instead of Galactus coming, we can just move the Earth, and that would solve things. And obviously that goes bad, and then it's like, okay, if you can't move the Earth, you can move the giant. I think that's what they call them too. So I really liked that. You could see the sacrifice, at least for me. I appreciated they did that with Johnny, as you could see, because he's got a good heart, and I think he maybe was the standout, because he was probably the most funny. He definitely has like the most, personality and charisma, and they gave him a lot of heart with like, telling the recording right as he was about to hit Galactus, and then he was knocked off course. They kind of did everything with him, like all of the emotions, all of like the character building. Specifically with him, again, I think that's why Ben actually was a little bit lower, because he didn't have, that's a heroic moment that you can't give to everybody, right? Even though it didn't end up happening, right? I will say, being part of the larger universe does still hurt it, because like, the Galactus thing was great. I think pushing him into that thing and transporting, that was a cool way of getting rid of him and then also getting rid of Silver Surfer, right? So you do that whole thing. But like, you know, like Sue dying, like I think, like I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, well, she's in, we know like Vanessa Kirby is talking about filming Avengers Doomsday literally right now, right? Like she goes to film it like every other day, you know, outside of this press thing. So it's like as she lays dead on the ground, it's like, okay, you know her son is going to bring her back and you just know she's going to survive, right? So that, again, is a part of being a larger thing. That hurt that. And even the Johnny thing, it's like that was very predictable because, you know, he gets through to her, showing her like, hey, you know, you did what you had to do for your people, but then you let everybody else to death, and she freaks out, she leaves. You know she's going to come back to help them at the end of the day. And then as he's about to make his sacrifice, she steps in for him. And again, that part is so predictable because that's just the classic villain turn hero. Plus, you can't get rid of him because, again, he is also in Avengers. So, you know, being part of that world definitely held it back from those two moments that I think could have been more emotional, because they just honestly almost flat out weren't. When she's laying there dead, like that's really almost sold by everybody else, not by the act of her being there. I mean, that's like the big moment. Like it's tough because like most of the movie is just working towards that. I liked it. It had a good speed. Again, it had some comedy. Not all the jokes landed. I actually think maybe like half landed, but it had moments. It had a lot of heart, and I think it had a lot of emotion, you know, between these characters. I think they did that family aspect well. And then of course the mid-credit scene. I just want to quickly shout that out before I get out of here. That was pretty cool. In fact, when the movie started, I did not look this up. Look, I looked up like, does it have a credit scene? But as we sat down, I literally told my wife, like, it would be something if Doctor Doom was the mid-credit scene. And then he quite literally was. So did not expect that. Even though it's not Robert, I mean, like, it probably is not Robert Downey Jr. literally there, like, as they're filming it. But obviously the implication, that's pretty cool. I still don't know. Like, there's a lot you can say about that, and then going back to the well to him to do Doctor Doom. We can talk about that in different videos, but I think that was, you want an impactful mid-credit or end-credit scene, that's an impactful one, right? In fact, I don't really think it gets more, like, in your face, like, here's the threat. I mean, here's what comes next, right? I don't really think you could get any more, like, on the nose with it than this one. So they ended it very strong, and, like, I mean, I like the Galactus being pushed in thing. I think that was a cool like climax of the film. So there's the spoiler parts, not too much more, you know, to add there, but just wanted to throw out some of the things in my head. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure as always you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.